Welcome to Between Chapters. I'm Eric, and today I'm going to talk to you about the two recent good books that I read. And that is a good thing because I've had a bit of a drought. I still have been hit or miss on a lot of titles. It was a good stretch of I love these books to then I'm not liking any of them. And then here's one, oh, I'm back. And then the next one I don't like. And so it's been a bit challenging for me. So I'm really excited to come to you now and share two of the books that I recently had a great time reading. So let's get into it. The first book, being that spooky season is nearly upon us, this is an appropriate book. It is The Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker. If you recognize this little guy, you've seen the Hellraiser movies, this book is what those movies are based on. So that was really interesting for me, to have watched the movie when I was younger, then to read the book, not even knowing it was based on a book. But I learned a lot of things. It was a fun read in a really gross way. There was a lot of grotesque things. There was some themes that there's going to be a lot of people that won't like this. I mean, right off the bat, you have pain and self-pleasure, and it was graphic. You know, no, it wasn't long extended, but it was graphic. And so some people can get really off-put by that. But the thing about it is, in this book, it made sense. It was grounded in who the character was. So I appreciate that because it's not just a shock value kind of thing. This was very much rooted in the character, who he was as a person. So that works. And when books do that, it's wonderful. But then I've read other things that, you know, it's clearly just for shock or just to meet a quota of some kind, to get something into a book or to not have something in a book. And it just feels like something's missing. This was not that. Hellbound Heart was not that. It was good. Everything made sense, and it made you queasy at times in like uncomfortable ways, and that was by design. It took one of the main antagonists, there was really two antagonists, because I don't really count the Cenobites, the people from the other realm, as bad guys. They feel like they're just from this other realm and are bad, but they're just sort of, hey, come on in, we opened up the puzzle box, so make us into your slaves. But it was effective. There was two characters, Frank and Julia, that were the primary antagonists of the book and of the movie. And they did a really good job, especially with Julia, making me really not like her. And I think when a book can do that in a short amount of time, I mean, this is a novella, so I probably should call it that instead of a novel. It says novel. That's why I said novel. But it is, 130 pages. And the font is gigantic. It is huge. And that was really helpful for me because maybe I'm old, but I was like, I like this big font. This is nice. So it's not really 130 pages. It's shorter than that. I'm sure if we put it down to 12, we'd see how long it was. But back to the antagonists. The people, you really wanted them to fail. You wanted the other people to win. And it was just every time they're on the scene, you're like, you mother... Julia, get the... You know, and so having that response whenever I'm reading her is a good thing because I should not like her. She's written that way. Another thing I want to mention, the grossness of the book is in the movie, and you can tell that the movie was really true to the book in a lot of ways because when you watch the movie, a lot of the time is slow camera shots. It's a long sequence of something gross happening. It visually tells the story, and there's not a ton of story. You know, this is something that happens in the period of probably a week, and it goes pretty fast. There's not a lot happening that you can really make this big movie. You're not going to jump into these side plots and side characters and stuff, just a couple of things here and there. So they lean into the special effects and the practical effects, and that was effective because that's what the movie was there to do. But the book does a better job of telling the story for sure. One thing that I wanted to circle back to is that opening scene where it's self-gratification, and it was rooted in the book, in the character, in what was happening. There are books that people love that I don't understand, and one of the examples I have is It. I understand the prolific nature of the book and the writer. I've enjoyed Stephen King's books, but the scene in It where they have the coming of age moment with the teenagers, I thought they're like 13 or 14, and they all end up having sex, right, with the one girl. And that's like to mark them as becoming men and her a woman, and like this is how they choose to do it. I get it, but I've not understood why that was necessary. It didn't seem like it was telling me anything. that I was like, ah, yeah, good story. It made me uncomfortable. And part of that was because the way that Stephen King describes the difference between the boys, and the final boy being, you know, bigger than the rest. And it was a pleasurable experience after, I forget how many boys she had been with in this sequence. But it was just super weird because it was super detailed. And if you want to, I still don't know how I feel about that. I don't know if, I know how I feel about it. I don't think it should have been in the book. That's my honest take. It was uncomfortable and unnecessary to me, right? And maybe that's not a common take. Maybe everyone thought it was like really rooted in truth and it was powerful, a potent image. I don't know. It just felt like, as a 13-year-old, 14-year-old, like this is a really odd thing to go, because it felt like we were doing this and all of a sudden our answer to this is this sex scene. I'm trying not to be crass, but I don't know if I'm communicating this correctly. Stephen King, I'm not looking at him as a bad person in any way. It's just that scene, I was like, that's the one thing where I'm like, what is this? It felt wrong to read. Okay. And if a book feels wrong to read, this didn't feel wrong to read. The scene made a lot of sense, but that one felt wrong to read. And Brave New World is another example where they're talking about, in the early thing, about, being free, and the kids all are naked and are encouraged to pleasure each other or play with each other. Maybe I read it wrong, but it was super awkward. And I was like, I don't get it. I don't know how this is furthering the story where it's a vital piece of storytelling. It's just weird to me. And that could be a hot take. That could be something I'm alone on, but I don't like it when stories do that. But when they're grounded in reality, like for instance, you take a movie where you're talking about Outlander, where there's assault of women and there was a disrespect of women. I hated those scenes, right? I hate those concepts, but it was probably truthful to the time that the movie was taking place. And it makes you feel something, disgust and pain for these people that you don't even know because they died a long time ago, but it awakens something in you to be like, how could a man devalue a woman so much? Painful to watch, uncomfortable, like you want to look away, but it's telling you something. And Outlander specifically broke me many times and disgusted me and made me think about what it is to be a man. And that is powerful to me. I'm just giving you a couple examples where it wasn't. And that's the disconnect and why I connect and don't connect with certain things. And I got off on a big tangent. Didn't mean to do that. It's about Hellbound Heart, a wonderful, spooky read, short and sweet. I think it's worth your time if you're not uncomfortable by kind of the grotesque and more of that disgusting type of horror, because it's really well written, but it's a good story. I would recommend it. Just be ready for a little bit of oozy goozy gross. The second book I liked was from the Lit Wizard's recommendation, and that is Dark Matter. Is it a perfect book? No. Does it have to be? Absolutely not. It's a fun book. It's a easy breezy. It's a light read, and those are good. Those are necessary to have. It does things right. It does things wrong, in my opinion, and they are my opinion. But I isolated what two things really turned me off to the book, but they weren't enough to make me throw it out. You know what I'm saying? So you can read a book and not enjoy everything about it, but still read the book and enjoy it. So one thing I said before about this book was it was the first 25 pages I was in felt like it was written by a screenwriter, because it was, but that's why it reads that way. And I can give you examples probably of how I mean that. It's just an element of certain action is written very clean in a way that, you would write in a screenplay. So like, this is just one. What else could make me lose touch with my identity and reality in a matter of hours? Calling into question everything I thought I knew. I wait and wait and wait. Finally, I step outside into the grass. No more voices. No more footsteps. No shadows. No car engines. The night feels sturdy and real again. I already know where I'm headed next. So you get these lines that are very crisp, right? I feel vulnerable, exposed, weirdly ashamed. They're very staccato. And even like some of the dialogue, you have to go. I do. I don't want her to. I need to keep hearing her voice. Jason, yes, I love you very much. I love you too. You have no idea. I'll see you tonight. So it's very quick back and forth at times. It's not always like that. I'm just saying those things read to me more like screenplay. And the reason you do that is because when you write a screenplay, you're not putting everything in there. You're getting the main beats out, and the director and the DP are going to then make a visual filling in of the details that aren't there. It gives them freedom to play. You don't want to script everything out for them because a director is an artist that is going to make it their vision in combination with your vision as a writer. So it's not a knock. It's just that's why it feels that way. The enjoyment I had is it's fast. It flows. There's action all the time. There's not a lot of downtime. And so it was fun and it was easy to read. There's no complicated language. It's very direct and clear. And the problem I have with it was two things. One, Jason, the main character, did some things eventually that just made me angry. And they, again, weren't rooted in what I thought his character was. And yes, I'm not trying to give spoilers, but I'll get into that part next. But it is possible that it was in him all along. It's just he was selfish at certain times when he wasn't selfish before. He went through this whole thing of not being selfish. Then he gets to this one point, and all of a sudden he's making these decisions that are just stupid. And it's super selfish, and he has someone else with him that is paying the price for this or could pay the price. So it just blew up to me where I'm like, I disconnected from him. And from the rest of the book, I didn't have this connection to him. And I was like, well, let's just see how it ends kind of a thing. And that was sad because it was unnecessary. That didn't need to be in the book. It didn't further the story in any way. And that is a bigger problem for me when people do that. And it's a fear that I have in my own writing that is this scene serving the story or is it just in there? And I think there's stuff that in here, people call it lazy writing in some of the reviews that I read about this. And I don't agree that it's a lazily written. And they also said that the Dark Matter show was lazily written too. And it makes sense because he did it. I don't agree with that critique. I don't think the show looks interesting to me. I watched the preview and I didn't feel connected to it, or I didn't feel a desire to watch it. You can let me know if I'm wrong and I should watch it. But I didn't find his writing lazy. It was well done. I think it was fine. It's just there were certain things I wish they would have taken out. And the main thing I wanted to take out, and this is a spoiler, so if you don't want to hear the main theme of the book, ignore, is the multiverse. I can't stand the multiverse. For Marvel, loved the MCU until they brought in the multiverse, and I just lost it. And now I think they're kind of maybe taking it out a little bit and getting back and maybe where I can enjoy it again, which would be great. But anytime something does the multiverse, I'm off. I just lose it. And this book helped me understand why. The multiverse removes every stake. All of the death stakes to me are gone because now it's not a single person. There's a permutation of a person. So if in one universe, the Lord of the Rings, Frodo gets to the Mount Doom and throws a ring in, there's an infinite number where he didn't. And that just kills the story for me. Why am I invested in this? Because it's just this one permutation that failed. It's this one permutation that succeeded or failed. So why do I care about this Jason when there's 10,000 other ones? At that point, it's the same thing as I don't like it when a hero gets knocked unconscious and then wakes up tied to a post and then they're going to kill him. I'm like, no, he's already dead then. That they already killed him. So now it's just, it ruins it for me. That's one storytelling thing that hurts me that I can't get over. And the multiverse just does it on another level. Because if he fails here, he can succeed 10 million other times out there. And it just gets everything sticky and weird for me. So I did my best to ignore that, but there was a lot of difficulty in doing it. There were some character decisions that did help kind of bring some peace to that. But in a multiverse novel, if it ends with success, then my mind is always thinking, yeah, but what if some alternate version of you does find a way back to you and now ruins your life again? Like there's just no closure and there's no stakes. So it just leaves me feeling wanting. It leaves me feeling not satisfied. Did I feel satisfied with Dark Matter? Yes. It was a good experience for what it was. This was episodic television, you know? That's what I call books that are faster paced. It feels more like I'm going to watch an episode of TV versus I'm going to sit down and watch a big 2-hour movie. This was episodic television. It was a good palate cleanser. I enjoyed it. It's just in enjoying it, I learned what I don't like and why. And that was good. Learning why I don't like the multiverse more clearly and identifying that, well, now the stakes are gone. So I don't feel like this rush of like, will he survive? How is he going to do it? Because now we're dealing with the multiverse, and that just always is going to take me out of it. So Hellbound Heart and Dark Matter were winners this month, so I'm grateful for them. They will be on my shelf in their proud position as good job, writers. You wrote a book and I enjoyed reading it, so collaboration. Hopefully I'll have more of these positive book reviews or reactions and less of the DNFs, but I'm sure that won't be the case because that's been the pattern. And the best predictor of future events are recent past experiences. So that's going to do it for this one. Thanks for stopping by. Hope to see you in the next video. And until then, journey well, my friends.